love myself, and you give power and influence to the wrong people. Look how it turns out. You have to hype yourself up when nobody else on the external is hyping you up. You have. Welcome back to Ascension with V. I'm your host, Stashia Jeanette, aka V, and today I'm going to talk about something that has recently been brought up to me as something that a lot of people have an interest in, a curiosity in. A horror movie has been made about it. I think the horror movie did a better job of explaining kind of the negative effects of what can potentially happen when you're using this ability or this gift. And the gift that I'm talking about today is astral projection. What it is, why you need to have a proper experience with it. You need to kind of be trained in the art of astral projection or lucid dreaming, and everything about the out of body experience and why it seems to be such a fad, such a fascinating thing for people. But knowing how to use it and do it correctly is the key here, because if you guys have seen the movie Insidious is a prime example, albeit taken to the furthest extreme and obviously exaggerated for the horror movie aspect of it. But it's an example of what absolutely can happen when you astral project and you don't know how to protect yourself and you don't know how to defend yourself when you are out of your physical body. Not only that, but defending your physical body while you are out in the spiritual realm, in the astral realm, and exploring the beyonds. So gonna kind of dive in and talk about some of the things. Again, I touched on what astral projection is. It's essentially you having an out of body experience, or your consciousness leaving your body, leaving your physical body. One of the ways that a lot of people, well, again, speaking from my personal experience with it, how I first started doing it was when I was a child and I didn't know exactly what was happening. I just would go to sleep and wake up somewhere else, for lack of better words. And I could remember, all the adventures and the places that I would go, and some of the not so kind looking things that I would experience while I was, in these places. I noticed seeing a lot of dark entities. I saw a lot of lost souls. I saw a lot of, but also in that, I saw a lot of different worlds, a lot of different realms, a lot of different timelines. And again, I was a kid, so it's not like this was like a drug induced thing. This was just, this was just me as a child, and having these experiences. And then later on in my childhood, I learned, from my spirit team, from God's Source Universe, telling me like, this is a really powerful gift and thing, and you cannot just go wandering wherever when you're not prepared for it. And so there was a while where that ability to astral project had been kind of blocked off until I had more further training. And training in it for me looked like learning how to lucid dreaming. And so setting the attention before falling asleep that I will remember my dreams, and I will consciously remember that I'm dreaming, and I'll be able to control what happens while I'm in those dreams, right? So that's what my own personal training with it was like. Was I started out doing lucid dreaming. I started out being able to have my body go to sleep while my mind was still awake. And a lot of people experience this and they think it's some like demonic possession situation, or that like something is happening to them in the spiritual realm. And again, I can't debunk all of the examples, and it's kind of like a to each its own. Maybe that is something that happens, maybe it's not. I don't know, but I can only speak from what happened with me, what I went through during my multiple years of training my body to lucid dream. And I didn't experience, maybe one time, but I think it was just my mind. And I think that was a thing that I think that's a thing that happens with a lot of people, is it's their mind that thinks that something is coming after them. Because I do remember one time having an experience where my body had fallen asleep, and so what happens is your body falls asleep, and it's kinda like that tingly feeling, if you fall asleep on your arm falls asleep, and it's just, like, tingling, and you can't really feel it, but, like, the next stage beyond the tingling is that you just don't feel it at all. You know what I mean? Like, when one of your ligaments falls asleep, you can't feel it. So this is essentially what happens when you lucid dream. It's your entire body, and so the only thing that you can do is just move your eyes because your head has essentially fallen asleep, and everything else has fallen asleep, but you're still consciously awake. And so that's like that's but that feeling there, usually people experience it by accident, somehow, and they freak out because they think it's like some spirit being on top of them, like making it to where they can't move and they can't scream or they can't X, Y, and Z. And again, like I said, for me, that's not what happened. But I did have a moment in time where I freaked myself out into thinking like, oh no, something's gonna climb onto the bed and get me. But that's the only time that I had an experience, but it was just again, it was because I was freaking out and I didn't set the intention before going to bed that that's what I was going to do. So, but it again, at this point, it was because I had been doing that every night. I had been setting the intention that that's what I was going to do. That was the experience that I was going to have, was that I was going to lucid dream and I was going to be able to kind of like determine to control where I was going to go in my dreams. So, but I think my body just defaulted to like, this is what we're going to do. But I think what the part that tricked me up was that I didn't know, I didn't consciously set the intention to do that. So my mind freaked out immediately when I when I woke up and I couldn't move, and then you kind of go down the rabbit hole. So I do feel like that's kind of where a lot of the myths of like, oh, it's a demonic possession or it's some sort of spiritual X, Y, and Z or this, that, and the third was after me. That gets attached to lucid dreaming because again, if you don't know, like if you didn't consciously set the intention to do so, it does send you for a loop. So, but yeah, like I said, I can't debunk all of the things. I can just say what I experienced on my own and the time where I did freak myself out. But that learning to lucid dream, I would say, is the foundational step into being able to consciously astral project. Because again, once you have mastered the body, the physical body, of being able to control what happens enough to set your mind into the state of being able to lucid dream. I feel like I need to elaborate further on that step. It's the process of lucid dreaming is you having to lie completely still for anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes and like however long it takes for you to typically fall asleep. And when I mean completely still, like for me in my own personal training, it's no swallowing. Like, so for me, I was just laying there, on my back in corpse position, and it was slow and controlled breaths. It was like focusing on the breath. It was super mundane, really boring. It was not giving in to itches. So your mind will do a thing to like test to make sure that you're asleep so that you don't have that freak out. So that you don't have that freak out thing of being like, oh no, I can't feel my body, while you're still consciously awake. So what your mind will do is like do things to see if you're going to consciously respond, like send random itches to you to see if you're going to move your arm or your limbs to go and scratch the itch or try to make your nose wiggle to see are you going to like twitch your nose to see if you're consciously able to respond to the nose itch, or it'll try to like make you swallow to see if you are conscious enough to be like, oh, I need to swallow, something of this nature. It's like your brain's shutdown process, and it doesn't want to shut down if it knows that you're going to, if that you're still awake. So it's having to train your body to not respond to the shutdown protocols, the shutdown tests. And that's hard. It's really hard to that's why now, I can get an itch and like not respond to it. Is because again, like I've trained my body to not respond. But it is really difficult because it's not just one time that your body will send out these tests, these shutdown test protocols. Your body will constantly do it over that 5 to 30 minutes before it like does the final shutdown and says, okay, like body can go to sleep now. So yeah, so that's what I mean, like, having to be able to have the control over your body to lie there still from anywhere to 5 to 30 minutes and not swallow and not turn your head and not readjust and not, scratch your leg, scratch your arm, do any of that. To fight your body's constant signals, tests, and triggers. That is what I mean, being able to, like, have full control over your mind and body. Right, because it's also you telling your mind like, "No, we're not gonna respond," and that level of having control is, like, the foundational aspect that you need to have, really honestly, to be able to safely astral project and do it the right way. Because, again, a lot of times people are astral projecting and, hey, no shade, but, like, it needs to be said, a lot of times people are astral projecting gone off a bunch of drugs, gone off a bunch of alcohol, gone off a bunch of whatever kind of chemicals or things, be it from the earth or not, that they're mixing in, to try and get that, and at that point in time, you are in no control of your body. You're in 0 control of what happens in your physical vessel while your astral body, your spiritual body is out exploring the realms, and you're not in control of your spiritual body. Did I say that right? Either way, you're not in control of either of either body, spiritual or physical, when you are not of a clean mind and when you're not of a sober mind. And when you don't have the proper training and protocols set prior to, right? So I always give the example of a lot of these things having to be kind of like an algebraic equation. You have to learn the basics of algebra before you can add the more complex aspects of algebraic equations in order to understand and do the formulas, right? So this is no different. You have got to have the basic foundation of this formula to be able to execute the equation effectively, accurately, successfully, safely. Um, yeah, because otherwise it leaves you susceptible to having dark entity attachments. It leaves you open for parasitic attachments. Lower entities can latch onto your energy field. So the movie, the Insidious movie, what happened with the little boy was essentially he had this astral projection gift, and he got lured into I forgot what they called it in the movie, but the dark side, the Mariana Trench into the abysses, and he didn't have any protection, and he was gone, just out wandering willy nilly because again, like because kid, and he just didn't know, right? So in the example for me, God Source Universe shut my shit down until I was absolutely ready and trained to be able to go wherever and do whatever, that I'm called to do, right? And so in this movie example, he had none of that. So he was just out there exploring the nethers, exploring the darkness and the depths, and his he got latched on, an entity latched on to his spiritual body and piggybacked to his physical body with him because he was gone so long. So you have to have physical protection for your physical body, meaning like you need to have like a black obsidian on your physical body, like as a bracelet, as a necklace, as a tumbled stone in your pocket, something like you need to have something that protects your physical vessel while your spiritual vessel is out and about. You need to have a way to, even if something were to try to piggyback with you in spirit, that when it got to the physical realm, like immediately you'd be like, access denied, smack them in the face with that physical protection. But you shouldn't be trying to do these things without knowing how to first properly spiritually protect yourself. I say this so frequently, and I'm sure y'all gonna get tired of me saying it, but like this is a huge problem that we have out here because the appeal comes from like spiritual quote unquote gurus and things who have been given a platform and they don't know the things either. They don't know the ins and outs of it either. But yet they're leading these like retreats and these things to be like guiding others to have this immense out of body experience, and they have no idea the dangers that can impose. This is like, again, this is no like fear factor type shit, but like this is the reality of it because I see it. I deal with it frequently within people. I get tired of having to, clean up after the mess that reckless quote unquote spiritual leaders and gurus have made purposely, and it's crazy work. It's crazy work that people are kind of paying to get their soul snatched, kind of paying to bring back dark entities with them when they go and do these things just to experience having an astral projection, to have a spiritual out of body experience. But if you're going to do it right. And that's my motto on anything. If you're going to do it right. Don't half-ass it. Don't just do it because of the clout. Don't just do it because it's a trend. Don't just do it because you have the money to do so and somebody claims that they're a third world, third generation, third lifetime X, Y, and Z. You have to do your own due diligence as the person who's doing it. If even if the guru or the leader or whoever it is that's guiding you through this process doesn't have the experience, you should do your own due diligence and figure out how to protect yourself during the process if you're going to do it. You know what I mean? And that's it. That's how I feel about the things. But so much can happen besides you having, a parasitic attachment. You can get this disorientation or like trouble coming back into your physical body and like feeling off for days, weeks, or months because you didn't integrate back into your physical body all the way, and parts of your spiritual body are still out there wherever it was that you went. That's a real thing. It's a real thing. I have experienced that where I still felt a part of me in another timeline where, again, when I was younger and I had to do a lot of work as I got older to go back and retrieve these things, because again, didn't know. It's a real thing that can occur, and you can also have psychic interference. Like, it kind of goes with the dark entity things, but psychic interference is like, I see that you're out here in your spiritual body unprotected. Let me lure you over here. Come this way. Let me teach you this. Oh, you don't know how to do that? Oh, you don't know about these things? Let me tell you all something. Dark energies and dark entities can tell when you fresh out. When you are it's like being a freshman in high school. When you just arrived and when you have no protection, when you have no knowledge of where you're at, when you're just a newbie out there, it's kind of like how people that are native to a land can spot travelers, tourists, like a mile away when they arrive because cameras and the attire and the whatever else, the maps that are screaming, "Hey, I'm a tourist." They got their backpack on the front of them. "Hey, I'm a tourist." Um, that's how entities are able to detect, like, they're not from here. They don't know what they're doing, and they also aren't protected. People can smell, entities can smell. You don't know what you're doing in the spiritual realm and they can detect instantly when you have no spiritual protection or spiritual boundaries. And also when you have a physical vessel that's also unattended. So it's very much possible for a negative entity to latch into your physical vessel because it's also unprotected. Again, explaining this, it's wild to me to think that this is such a thing that happens, but it's because so many people have an addiction to trying to escape their reality. So many people have an addiction to trying to get out of the world that we're in currently, to get out of their current situation, to get out of the suffering, to get out of the pain, to get out of the depression, to get out of the whatever the case may be. Like, I get it. I understand. Really, I do. As a person who's living with heads, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, my body is constantly in pain. And after coming off of all the medications constantly, that's what I deal with. Pain. It hurts all the time. Everything is hurting constantly. And we become very good at being able to disassociate from our body. But like, I have had to do the opposite of learning to stay in my body and deal with the pain. And because I need to be able to detect when something is off here physically, while it would be so much easier for me to just be like, oh, it's okay. Like, I can just easily hop out of my body. I can very easily. It's effortless almost for me. But what's not effortless for me is staying in my body, and that's and it's so I get it. I understand where a lot of people have this addiction to wanting to escape, addiction for wanting to get out of the physical body and the physical realm because it's raggedy here. I understand it completely, but you got to do it the right way. You have to make sure that you have the protection, preparation, clearing your space before you go to bed, grounding, calling in divine protection, asking Archangel Michael to surround you with this white and blue light of protection and keep you safe from any and all curses, hexes, jinxes, spells, ill will, illusion, delusion, confusion, blockages, spiritual attacks, negative, evil energies, entities, beings, sickness, diseases, viruses, infections, and energy vampires and spiritual attacks, and to return those things immediately back to senders with love, light, healing across all past lives, timelines, dimensions, realms, corners of the world, people, places, and things that this may be sending. Always with love, light, and healing. Always with love, light, and healing, because you don't want that coming back on you tenfold. And your energetic hygiene. Every morning and every night, you should do things like cord cutting if you're physically touching people all the time, if you're physically interacting with people frequently, if you're physically around people frequently, you need to use some Palo Santo and go around and kind of say what I said just now. Cleanse your energy with Palo Santo. Always will say, use the Palo Santo. If you're not doing it at least twice a day, please at least do it before you go to bed. Use some tuning forks. C is a negative energy clearing tuning fork. Like C, it's small, looks like this. Uh, ding it 3 times, ring the bell, trying times to cleanse the energy around you and in your space, in your bedroom, in your home. When you're doing these things, please cleanse your crystals. So many people are out here with a whole bunch of crystals and they're raggedy and dry and they haven't been cleansed and maintained ever. Again, putting them in the Palo Santo smoke, wafting the smoke of the Palo Santo over the crystals 5 or 6 times, letting it kind of absorb that and cleanse out and take it out. Open your window when you use Palo Santo. Please open the window when you use Palo Santo. When you use sage, I don't recommend sage because a lot of people don't have the capacity to put the positive energy back in, right? Like it's just too complicated for most people. Please just use Palo Santo, especially if you're just starting out with your spiritual journey, your spiritual gifts, and spiritual cleansing. Palo Santo is your friend. Open the windows though. What else? Oh yeah, with the crystal maintenance, using a selenite bowl every night or every morning while you're gone to work, while you're doing something, your crystals need to be in that selenite bowl, cleansing and charging so that they're ready for your nighttime usage every single day, every single day. It's not once every week, it's not once a month, it's every single day. If you're using these crystals at nighttime like you should for your protection of your physical vessel, you should then be putting them in the morning when you rise in your selenite bowl to cleanse and charge and be ready for your next night's usage. That's imperative. That's a real thing. Boundaries in the astral. State your intention before traveling. Like I said, when I was doing my lucid dreaming when I was doing my lucid dreaming training, I always set the intention of what it was that I was going to do. I'm setting the intention to lucid dream, to astral project, to travel the astral realms. And then you can say that like I'm only connecting to beings of the highest light, love, and truth, or of the highest, purest intentions. And then when you come back, you need to make sure that you're anchoring back into your body, doing some grounding. Go outside and put your feet in the grass. Just go outside and put your feet in the grass. And so you can deep root and visualize your roots coming out of the bottom of your feet, deep down into Mother Earth and the heartbeat of Mother Earth pulsing and you connecting into that heartbeat. And salt baths, get you some Epsom salt and enjoy that. Enjoy a nice little Epsom salt bath because it does the body good. It does both bodies good. Let's see, what else did I put on here that I didn't mention? How to safely explore astral projection. Yeah, keep your sessions intentional and short at first. And again, like I said, always have a purpose of why you're doing it. Don't just be out here taking drugs and tripping and just being like, well, I'm just gonna see what happens. Again, no shade, but this is this is how you get got. This is literally how you get got, is as soon as you take these drugs and you just land wherever, wherever you're at, the entity's there and the energy's there. Immediately know that you a tourist and that you're out there with no protection. They know. And you may not know that you've come back with something. Look, like, this is like STD class. You may not know that you have it until you have it. It's this. But literally, you may not know that you done got until, all of a sudden shit's falling apart in your life. Your health is declining. You're having mysterious illnesses. Everything's going awry in your life because they can. It's like a slow burn. They very slowly drain the life out of you, out of your physical vessel. Again, kind of going back to that Insidious movie, is it was like the kid's body ended up like declining rapidly, and he was like on hospice in his house because the entity was like slowly draining the life out of him. Again, because like a part of his spirit body was stuck in the abyss with the entities. But that's what happens, is like they try to milk your physical body for all its energy that it can, but over a slow amount of time. It's kind of what they used to say about like vampires, like Dracula, that vampires would never they would never kill, fully drain their victims, but like leave them enough blood supply in their body for them to be able to bounce back so that they can continue to feed off of them for like a long amount of time. This is like a perfect example as like an energy vampire, and vampire it's a long, slow burn process, and you may not notice it right away, especially if you under the influence. You may not notice it right away, but like slowly over time, you will notice that certain things in your body start going awry, that something's off, that something's happening. And it's only when you're in like detrimental time where you're like, snap, something's wrong. Right. So you really, really, really need to just try to keep your sessions short and with the intention of like, know why you're doing it. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of you wanting to do it? And practice under guidance with an experienced teacher before solo deep dives. And again, I don't know about it. Again, I I'm sure there are some people that do have like the full actual training of it, and are doing it the correct way. But I just know there's more that have not than there are that have. So it's on you as the person to do your due diligence and make sure that you have your black tourmaline. Make sure that you have your selenite and your selenite bowls. Make sure that you are calling on Archangel Michael for your protective bubble around you while you're traveling. Make sure that you're doing the groundwork for it first and understanding and mastering the basic of the formulation before you start trying to add in the more complex layers of doing full astral projection onto the formula. And then when you get back, journal your experience, talk about the patterns that you saw, the things that you did, and the patterns can help you discern what's real versus what's trickster, and what has benefit and what does not. And yeah, I wrote some just closing thoughts. Astral projection is a gift, not a game. And without protection, you're just leaving the front door wide open. With the right spiritual hygiene, you can use this ability to gain wisdom and connect with your higher guidance and accelerate the ascension journey. Yeah, I'll repeat what I said. You just need to do it right. If you're going to do it right. Do it with intention, do it with purpose, and do it with your own due diligence and practice and training and responsibility for yourself and what may or may not happen afterwards. You got to be ready to go through those doors with all intents and purposes of what may or may not go wrong, what you may or may not come back with. Again, like I said, so many people go out and they think like, oh, I'm just going to go and see some other worlds and experience different realities and like this, that, and the third, but they don't know, what what really goes into it. Again, astral projection can be a really awesome way to find yourself closer to your spirituality, find yourself closer to God's source universe, find yourself closer to your higher self, to your spirit guides, to your purpose, but it should not be used as a means to escape your physical human life. You have to ground into your human life as much as your spiritual life. Both are equally important. Both are a part of why you're here. We are not a human being just being a human being. Like, you really are a spiritual being having a human experience. And I think when you do astral projection, it does give you that moment of realization that, like, well, that's right. This is what I truly am, and it can bring you back into that understanding. Again, if you are of a silver mind, you can have that realization and keep that realization and keep that energy and keep that feeling that you felt while you were out exploring the astral, where you were out exploring the spiritual realm and world. But it is not a game. It's the real deal, and there is no training wheel. When you are out there. It's kind of like going on to, like, the dark web, but, like, below the dark web, like, the deeper than the you just out there. Then your ass is out fully. There's no if you don't have the right protections, like, all your shit can be compromised in a second, and this is no different. This is absolutely no different than when you go to the spiritual realm, when you're astral projecting. Like, everything can be compromised in an instant, if you're not prepared for the process. But again, what is it they say? With great power comes great responsibility. This is facts. But yeah, anyways, that's what I have for you guys on this episode, and I hope that it was helpful. Don't forget to please, 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 please practice good spiritual hygiene. Don't be out here with raggedy ass energy. Don't be putting raggedy ass energy out into the world, into the universe. If you ain't, if you're not gonna do it right, don't do it at all. Period. Doesn't matter if you're taking on the role as quote unquote leader or guide or as client or explorer. You should do your own due diligence, and if you're not gonna do it right, don't do it at all. The same for you, because it's not a game. It's not a game, and I see it so frequently where, again, I work very often with the abyss, and that's where I was forged from. Like, that's my native home, right? So I know full well what goes on there, and I see so frequently so many people coming to me in the spirit because they can't get back home. They can't get back to their body. They can't get back in. And it's you you effed around and you found out, you thought it was a game. So please do your due diligence, and do have a energetic spiritual protection and spiritual hygiene PDF that's available. It's like $5, y'all. Come on now. But again, if you don't want to pay the $5, I've already given you the free information here. But you gotta want to help yourself. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? You gotta want to help yourself. We only take willing participants over here, and that's what I have for you guys. Don't forget, you can book a one-on-one. You can apply to work one-on-one with me on my website, ascensionoraclev.com, or you can book a video reading with me, just like I do every week. If you just want some channeled advice to see what you got going on, what may be coming, or what God's Source Universe needs to let you know. And the new Earth Guidebook to Healing and Ascension is available on Amazon. And with that said, I'll see y'all. Peace, squad.